Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today, I have Lou. Good to have you, Lou.
Thanks, buddy.
We're going to be discussing the second half of Autumn Floods. Before we do, I do want to talk about a resource, and I'm going to use another week to talk about the Sober Meditations app. As of recording this, which is a week prior to you hearing it, the app is still available. It's November 1st. It's supposed to be, we don't know when, but the app will be coming down for those of you who use it. But all of the meditations that are there, I've been trying to get the word out. The meditations that are there can all be accessed at sobermeditations.org. And there's, if you've not ever taken a look at that, there's over 400, 5, 10, and 20-minute meditations. And the 10-minute have all the content. But what I did was I took each of the steps, and each step has 9 different meditations, 7 on the step with 1 Christian meditation for the step and 1 Taoist meditation for the step. So what I did was I took all those little thoughts that we talk about, like, for example, one of the meditations for step 1 is why the first word of the first step is we. Things like that, that all the little nuggets that working with a lot of sponsees that I've gained and gleaned over the years, I wanted to put that in some form that would be able to be used by more people. And it has been very helpful. We've averaged about 2,400 downloads a month, which is incredible for something that's just posted in a few websites is all. And I talk about it occasionally here. I've got friends that text me. John M. that does the Sober Speak podcast. He said that he hears people announce the sober meditations in the meeting for that it's a resource that they use. I've got a number of people who use it. So I just wanted to make it available and let people know and get the word out that it's still available and it's not going away. It's just now you can gain it from the website itself. Or actually, you can access it from any podcast aggregator too, because technically it's a podcast that I put out there that's static now, and use the app for the podcast in association with it. So anyway, bottom line is going away. Get the word out for me, please. Lou, do you have a synchronistic moment today? I didn't ask you before we started. If not, I can pull something, I'm sure.
Not one that comes to mind, buddy.
Okay. I want to talk about an AA synchronistic moment. I'm going to pepper some in here that from AA literature and AA history. I may have talked about this before. I want to use this as our synchronistic moment of how the first AA meeting. Are you familiar with this, Lou, how it all came together at the very beginning?
Yeah, generally, buddy.
Let me know if you've heard this story. Dr. Bob was in the Oxford groups. He had an Oxford group that he was a member of in Cleveland, Ohio. And they asked, an Oxford group is a Christian organization. They go by a different name now, but they're still around. And a lot of what we get in AA came from the Oxford groups, as far as the tenets of the Oxford groups became the 12 steps, or they're a basis of the 12 steps. And Dr. Bob, in one of their they had home meetings. And in one of their home meetings, it's like a church service, really, like a small group, if you're in, that kind of thing. And he asked for prayer for his drinking. That, of course, everybody knew he'd been drinking for years and years alcoholically, but he asked for help with his drinking. Could they pray for him? And about a week later, I think it was a week later, 2 weeks later, sometime in there, Bill Wilson came to Cleveland for a business deal, and the business deal fell through. Bill had about 6 months of sobriety, And at that point, what he had been doing was going out. He had a white light moment, and he tried to go out and talk to drunks. From what I understand, even going into bars and trying to talk to drunks to get sober and all of that. And nobody got sober in the 6 months that Bill was out trying to proselyte. He was evangelizing for AA, evangelizing for his experience with alcoholism. And he was talking to his wife, Lois, about it. And she said, "Wait, Bill, you stayed sober." And wow, I did. That's when he realized the real principle, that the thread that goes through all of AA, which is that when I help you, I'm really helping me. That's the secret that Bill found.
Mm-hmm.
So he was depressed. His deal fell through. He could go in the bar and drink. And he said, he says, "I'm going to go the phone booth outside the bar." And he said, "I need to find a drunk to talk to." So he knew going in the bar and just evangelizing, he wanted to find somebody who actually wanted to stop drinking. So he went down the list of the churches. There were no rehabs. There were nothing at that time. This was 35, I think. Actually, this is Mother's Day weekend, 1935. So he went down the list of all the different churches, and I think it was his 8th or 9th call. He talked to a clergyman who referred him to a lady. Said, she may know someone. Her name was Henrietta Sieberling, and the pastor put her and him with Henrietta Sieberling. And when they spoke, she said, she says, "I think I know somebody." She said, "Let me make a call and see if I can put y'all together." Okay. How did she know it? She was in the meeting, the Oxford group meeting, where where Dr. Bob asked for prayer for his alcoholism. That's how she knew. And so Bill Wilson, or she called, actually, Henrietta Sieberling, from what I understand, they got in touch with Dr. Bob, and it was his wife picked up the phone, and he was actually passed out, they said, in the kitchen under the kitchen table at the time. And this is on a Saturday. Oh, yes. This is on a Saturday. This is how the story goes. And no reason not to believe it true. So he couldn't meet then, of course, but they set a meeting for the next afternoon. So Bill Wilson stayed sober that night and the next day, just on the fact that he was meeting with Dr. Bob that next evening. And I was fortunate enough to go to a meeting. This is back in the early 2000s, and heard Dr. Bob's son tell the story. He was the one who drove Dr. Bob to the meeting, and he passed away shortly after that. He was older than sin then. And so he told the story, and it was an incredible piece of history to hear firsthand. And they went to the meeting. When they met, Dr. Bob told his son, he says, "Hey, this won't be but a few minutes. It won't take long." And their first conversation, Dr. Bob told Bill W., he says, "Hey," he says, "son, they're about, I think, 15 years difference in age. Bill Wilson, 15 years younger." He said, "Son, you're not going to be able to help me. I've tried everything. I just really don't have much hope I can quit drinking." And from what I understand, what Bill Wilson's response was, "I'm not here to help you. I'm here to help me." So that meeting's what led to what we have today in AA. So what a synchronistic moment, right?
Yes, I mean, absolutely.
Wow. And when we're open, those things can fall in place for us. Dr. Bob was open, Bill Wilson was open, and this is the result.
And buddy, does it seem to you that it's like a general openness, is not necessarily specific to a targeted thing, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what synchronicity is going to pop up. it's not a plan, in my experience, and most people I've talked to, it's not a planned thing where occasionally they'll be thinking of somebody, but not know why. And then they'll hear from them and there'll be a reason for it. But sometimes it's just way out of the blue of something they didn't even know they were thinking about or even had crossed their mind when there is a purpose to it. I think Jung talked about synchronicity, and that was one of the characteristics that he said is that it needed to be something that happened in time, not a long time apart, and that it had to be meaningful in some way. Didn't matter what way, just it had to be meaningful to the person.
And, this is a way of life, Lou. This is not like a one and done kind of thing.
I'm going to look for a synchronistic moment this week. It doesn't. Tomorrow, I want to have a synchronistic moment. It doesn't work like that.
I know. I think it's more of. I know you remember Mr. Magoo.
Yeah,
you're a good bit. You're older than I am, so I know that. I've, I'm Mr. Magoo my way through life. I do believe. I believe things line up at times, and I have no clue it's even happening. And then sometimes I see it, but most of the time I never know it's going on.
Yeah, Mr. Magoo is a good example. One of the Taoists I look to is Bugs Bunny. Have you ever seen Bugs Bunny upset about anything? Just goes with the flow.
I like the way he could jump out of a crashing airplane and just jump out and he's okay. I always like that. Oh, that's what I need to do if I'm ever in a airplane hurling to the ground.
Somebody's got a shotgun in his face. Bugs doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. That's good. And it's really about, for me, it's giving up the need to figure these things out and leaving room for that.
It's a reminder of that we're not in conscious control. We're not in control, which is very much like the reading, I think.
All right. Speaking of the reading, let's get there. We're going to be talking about the second half of Autumn Floods. We've already talked about the first half. This is a story in Thomas Merton's translation interpretation of the Chuang Tzu. Autumn Floods is on page 84. We do have a link in the bookstore at buddyc.org if you're want to order the book. You want to read for us, Lou? Let's just start at Of All Beings. That's where we left off. And just go ahead and read the whole thing, and then we'll come back if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Of all the beings that exist, and there are millions, man is only one. Among all the millions of men that live on Earth, the civilized people that live by farming are only a small proportion. Smaller still the number of those who having office or fortune travel by carriage or by boat. And of all of these, one man in his carriage is nothing more than the tip of a hair on a horse's flank. Why, then, all the fuss about great men and great offices? Why all the disputations of scholars? Why all the wrangling of politicians? There are no fixed limits. Time does not stand still. Nothing endures. Nothing is final. You cannot lay hold of the end or the beginning. He who is wise sees near and far is the same, does not despise the small or value the great. Where all standards differ, how can you compare? With one glance, he takes in past and present, without sorrow for the past or impatient with the present. In the present, all is in movement. He has experience of fullness and emptiness. He does not rejoice in success or lament in failure. The game is never over. Birth and death are even. The terms are not final.
Thank you, Lou. We know the first part of this story. This is almost two stories, really. The first part of the story that we've already discussed is talking about that all water eventually arrives at the ocean. The reason it does is because the ocean's the lowest body of water. We know that the ocean gives back through the water cycle, and the greater the body, the more it gives through evaporation into clouds, and then it rains and so forth. And this cycle goes on, and the larger the body of water, the more it gives back. So that's kind of the setup for this part of the story, and the fact that the ocean's never filled It gives back day and night. It's never emptied, similar to the Tao. Or compassion. You can look at it as compassion, because that is the thread, from my experience, that keeps us on the path. That's why it's the path of virtue, is because if I feel lost, my question or my prayer should be, okay, how can I get compassion into this situation? How can I get helpfulness into this situation? It doesn't have to be something overt. It could be something very minor and small. Let's say you're in a discussion and it's become an argument. One question in that line you could ask is, why does this person feel this way? Or what am I afraid of? What are they afraid of? And that type of thinking, see, that's compassion in itself.
Buddy, I think back to the story you were telling about the beginnings of AA. And what if the eighth pastor called, the eighth church call, didn't have compassion? What if Henrietta, I think her name was, didn't have compassion to take the next step? Having no idea the impact it was going to have, just simply being kind and being compassionate and try to help another human being out.
Yes. We never know the small things that we do, Lou, what the results of those things are going to be. We never know. And if we try to form our actions so that they create those things, we're standing in the way, because it doesn't work that way. We just do the action.
Absolutely. Buddy, I had a part of the work that I've done is helping people with disabilities get employment. And I remember I had moved on, and I had moved up in the agency to the top of the agency. And I got a letter one day that had been written some months ahead, and it had taken a long time to follow my career path to get to where I was. And it was a woman that I had vaguely remembered talking to in a previous job. And I had said to her, have you ever thought about going to college? And she said, well, it's going to take 4 years. I'll be 4 years older than I am now. And I said, how old are you going to be in 4 years if you don't go to college? It's like,
right.
The same thing. So that's all. I mean, she wasn't my client. It was just a person I had a conversation with when somebody else was out of the office and I was covering for a different agency even. And then I get this letter from her thanking me for that great advice and how she'd gone on to a college, and her job was in placement. So her job was getting people that are graduating from college jobs. So that little thing I didn't even remember, that I had no credit to me, ended up not only doing what my vocation was, but helping hundreds of other people get employment. And it's like there's no authorship to that.
Right.
That's not something I designed or envisioned or gee, if I only get this one person or any of that stuff. Just a ripple.
How can I save this person's life? You were, you were just being helpful, right?
You're a smart person. You got you got a large family to raise. Have you ever thought about college?
Huh. That's good. We just never know. Never know.
What scares me, buddy, or scares is probably the wrong word, but what makes me wonder is how many times might I have done it that I didn't?
Mm-hmm. Well, just like.
But then I'm not the author of that either. I mean, that's not.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You're no more the author of the mistake or the incomplete, I won't say mistakes, than you are the things you feel completed things,
Yeah.
And the rest of the story talks about that, in the fact that we're in the present moment and it's about what's going on now. And I can beat myself up if I want to about all kinds of decisions I've made in the past that appear to have not turned out well. Or I can be in the present and say, okay, I did the best I could then. Let's see if I can be helpful right now. If there's amends to make the amends, of course. Talk to your sponsor about it. That's why a sponsor is so important. Can see things more clearly. Some things I thought I needed to make amends about, I didn't need to do anything. But
Right.
because sometimes it was, well, you were harmed here, but did you really harm them? What are you making an amend about? But if I have people that I hold anger and resentment against, or I feel I hurt in some way, I need to evaluate it and see if that's really something I need to do. Okay, let's start at the first of that reading and go through this. Beings that exist, there are millions, man's only one. Among all the millions of men that live on the earth, the civilized people that live by farming are only a small portion. Smaller still, the number of those who having office or fortune or travel by carriage or boat. Of all these, one man in his carriage is nothing more than the tip of a hair on a horse's flank. Why then all the fuss about great men and great offices? Why all the disputations of scholars? Why all the wrangling of politicians? We're just not that important, are we?
No. And that's just even in our time, we're not important.
Yeah.
In the time that we're alive, that don't need comparison to the history of humankind or before or after or any of that stuff. As you were reading that, buddy, I was thinking of I've had college professors from elite universities, some of them overseas. I've had lots of important people that I've met, even more important people that I've read or listened to podcasts or watch TED Talks or videos or whatever. And to this day, the person that I've learned the most from in this life is a farmer, eighth grade educated farmer.
Is a farmer? You cut it. You broke
Farmer.
up. Okay.
A farmer. And so that's a person that doesn't necessarily have high standing in our culture. But for me personally, that's the person I look to. And that's what just one person, one moment for his life, my life, all this stuff is just not even a blink in time.
Hmm.
And yet we get all wrapped up, and I get all wrapped up in current events and in myself and the ache in my shoulder and all different kinds of things when it's all not final.
Exactly.
I'm in the water cycle.
And also too, I'm just not as important as I think I am. That's one thing that recovery has brought to me is, it's not important for everyone to know my opinion or what I think about something like it used to be. I ran into a guy early in recovery yesterday at an event. It was Halloween. We had a little Halloween party, and man, everything had to be exactly as he liked. And I was like, did I used to be like this? I think I did. Just angry. And I was like, wow, thank you. I went to gratitude instead of anger against him. It went to gratitude. He didn't like the music I selected. It was all crap for the meeting. I'm like, okay. This is what everybody chose, I don't, and I just smile, and didn't get up, used to it had been the opposite. If you don't like it,
Kids are good at bringing you down too. I always remember my son came to visit me. He was in college and he came to visit me at my office and we were walking through the lobby back to my office and somebody said something and I made what I thought was a witty remark and everybody laughed and stuff. And we go further down the hallway and my son says, "Dad, you're not really funny. That they're just laughing because you were the boss and you made a joke." Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. I'm not as funny as I think I am. I'm not as anything as I think I am.
You're not. You're also not as bad as you think. You see, it goes both ways.
Yeah, I'm not less than I think I am either.
Exactly. That's it. I'm prone to beat myself up. Well, I'm prone to try to bring myself down, but yet by the same token, the flip coin of that, I am not less than or more than.
Yeah, just an empty vessel.
Yes, that's the point anyway. Yes, becoming empty. I think that's the reason for the setup for the water story before as part of this was that if the ocean thought it was the most important thing, it would not be the lowest. It would not be the most humble. It would be the highest. And then it wouldn't be the ocean. So that's the setup, I think, for this. I was listening to, I tell you, a real good podcast. If you've never listened to it, I think is incredible. Michael Singer, who wrote Untethered Soul and the Surrender Experiment. He's a podcast that he does some incredible teaching. It's just some sessions of his. And one thing he mentioned was, you can get those on it. Just search for Michael Singer on your podcast aggregator and they should pull up. He said that as far as the expanse of time that the earth has been here, the entire time of man is a blink of the eye in a 24-hour period. Wow.
I'll have to look for it because Untethered Soul is one of my favorites.
Oh, you'll enjoy the podcast, Lou.
Yeah.
Trust me. It's very good. I got to have a sponsee that put me onto that. Derek, it's real good. All right, let's read on a little bit. So we've gotten right-sized. Then we talk about there are no fixed limits. Time does not stand still. So would that mean everything changes? That nothing's fixed because things continue to change? The only constant is change? That's why acceptance is so important.
I'm looking out my window at the lake with the changing fall colors and seeing how I had gotten the lawnmower out and sucked up the leaves yesterday. And now guess what? There's leaves all over the place.
Keeps changing, doesn't it?
Keeps changing, keeps going through the process.
Nothing endures. Yeah, nothing is final.
Yeah.
You cannot lay hold of the end or the beginning. He who is wise sees near and far as the same, does not despise the small or value the great. Where all standards differ, how can you compare? Got a friend, Paul, he's passed now, actually, who's in my Zen study group. And he said something one night that really stuck with me more than most things stick. He said time could be like a film strip and that every moment in time would be like one frame. And that frame hold everything that there is at that moment. So when you run the film strip, you're seeing many, 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 many frames, but each frame is that moment. So when you look at the picture of that frame, there's everything there. But then you see the next one. At that moment, that's the only frame there is. So if you want to compare it to a past frame, they're not the same frame. They're different frames. So you can't really compare them because there's nothing to compare it to. There's not another November 1st, 2025, 9:48, 27, 28, 29 a.m. Eastern. There's not another one. So well, this happened. Well, when did it happen? It happened this date. And that's not the same. It's different.
And each is full in and of itself.
Each is a full frame. Each is a full frame. And my judgments of good, bad, value, worthless, all those things, how many times do I make an initial judgment and they're wrong? Probably 85, 90% of the time at least. So why make the judgment anyway when it's not necessary? And most of it's not necessary. I see a person, I make a judgment about them. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything except me. Just like the guy at the party, he was all upset and bug-eyed. Wasn't affecting anyone but himself. And his wife was embarrassed. And so it was affecting her, but because of his behavior. And so was it necessary? Didn't appear to be.
80 years before it happened, it didn't matter. 80 years after it happened, it didn't matter.
Hey, 10 minutes before or after it, or less than 60 seconds.
Exactly.
I mean,
I can't remember if I think it's a Zen story where the Zen master is walking with a young novice and they come to a small creek and there's a beautiful woman there with a beautiful gown and she's got to cross the little creek. And the old master says, "Here, I'll carry you across." And of course, for the novice, that's just almost scandalous for a monk to be carrying a woman across a creek. And the monk does it and they go along their way, and she goes their way. And like the next day, the novice says, "Master, why did you carry that young, beautiful woman across the creek?" And the master said, "I put her down on the other side. Why are you still carrying her in your mind?"
yes.
So the master was just, keep her across, put her down, go on. Novice was wrapped up in that one frame.
Yes.
Couldn't let go.
Could not let go.
There's this line in here that says, "Without sorrow for the past or impatience with the present, all is in movement." That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Not not thinking about past events, what I might have done, what I should have done differently, not waiting for things to change. Can't wait until I retire. Can't wait until I get that promotion. Can't wait. Wish this would end now. I can be impatient for spring to come and the ice go off the lake so I can see the sun dancing on the water again. But that impatience isn't going to happen any quicker.
Exactly. With one glance, he takes in past and present, without sorrow for the past or impatience with the present. So this is what the sage does. He takes it all in. He's not caught up in the past, nor impatient for the present to be something different than it is.
Just a glance, not a rumination, just a glance, not a thinking
expectation.
about
No expectation. Yeah. All is in movement. How do I know I'm not doing that? That I'm not allowing that process? It's when I get disturbed. If I'm starting to get angry, starting to get disturbed, the 12 and 12 talks about that I'm disturbed when I feel I'm going to lose something that I have or not get something that I want. So I'm attaching expectations. I want this. You're going to take this. It's fear.
Mm-hmm.
He has experience of fullness and emptiness. He does not rejoice in success or lament in failure. The Taoist farmer, right? Maybe it isn't. The game is never over. Hold on. When you're playing a game, let's say a board game, something that you don't have money on, is what I'm getting to. You're just having fun, maybe fun with the kids. I don't know. Say you're playing a game of Monopoly with the kids or a game of Uno or whatever it is you play with the kids, depending on age and all. Just enjoy the game. Enjoy the time with the kids. Who cares who wins or who loses? As a parent, that's if I'm playing with my children, I don't want to beat them. I want to enjoy the time. Unlike when my grandfather used to take us fishing, he got mad if we caught a bigger fish than he did. He was one of us though. So, I mean, active. So, that's not, I'm talking about the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we look at life as a game? That idea of it being that attitude of a game really brings it into perspective too. Why am I so vested in a situation? What is it that it's doing for me? What fear am I pacifying a lot of times? Really all the time, if I look deep enough. That's when I'm out of spec with it.
We're just playing around here. This is just the playground we're playing.
Playing in the sandbox.
Recess bell hasn't rung.
Yeah. Playing in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son, when my daughter would come in and mess up his little thing in the sandbox, he'd be so upset. I'm like, it's just sand in the sandbox. Come on. They messed up my road, and I'm like, but I can say the majority of our life just that level of importance in reality?
Yes.
Then, you can hear yourself thinking though, oh, what about the major things in life? And he answers it. Birth and death are even. He's like, oh, wait a minute. I was fixing to say there's things, if birth and death are even, then everything's even. Now there's no objection. And the terms are not final. It's never over.
Things change, but they change within that cycle.
Hmm. And they change out of our control. Does the ocean control how much water how much water it loses to evaporation? Does it control that? No, it doesn't. And the greater it is, the more it gives beyond its control.
The greater capacity it has, and we can say, for example, for greater capacity for love it has, the greater capacity for compassion it has, the greater, the more of that it puts out.
Yeah. And did it control how much the sun shines and where the sun is and how close for summer and winter and all these things that cause more evaporation or less No, the sun does not. I mean, the ocean or body of water does not control that. All the body of water does is it just takes what it's given. That's all it does. The rest of it happens on its own. It all happens on its own. But if you're thinking about it as us and life and compassion and how we live, we just take what's given we accept what's given to us. And then we allow ourselves to be open to give back.
When the water evaporates in the ocean doesn't control it. The ocean doesn't know if it's going to rain and save somebody's crop. It's going to rain and flood an area that's going to lead to, some other outcome. It has no control over that. What the metaphor is saying, I think, is that if our water within our body is compassion or love, then the impact that it has, whether we know where or how or when, could be after we're gone. That compassion completes the cycle and ends up where it's supposed to be. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm thinking of the original story you were telling about with the synchronicity of AA. That would be an unlikely movie script for all of those things to happen, to come together the way that they did. How does that happen? We don't know. We don't understand the dynamics of the universe or the dynamics of the divine or any of that stuff. Nor necessarily do we need to understand it. Just to get into the flow of it, not fight the cycle.
And there's times that the evaporation of the water that comes from the ocean kills people.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean just gives. It's not responsible for, it doesn't judge, oh, maybe I don't need to evaporate as much here. This is flooded, so the ocean has no control over. There's something there too. I don't quite know how to form that into words, but there's something to be seen from that too.
Yeah, it rains on the just and on the unjust. Does not rejoice in the success or lament in the future. The game is never over. The times in history when a disaster led to some new world, people moving into a new world, or it's led to an innovation. There never used to be such thing as fire departments. No organized effort to put out a fire. Fires created the need and created that. Bad things created it. When there's a flood, look at all the people that help out. It's like, what's the phrase from Mr. Rogers? Look to the helpers. Look to the compassionate ones. Even bad times bring out good things. We don't know. We don't know the end of the story. It's unwritten. It's the game's never over. Birth and death are even. The terms are not final. So even when the ocean has its rain, the rain that comes from the ocean falls and floods an area, that story's not over there. It's one frame.
And it's not up to us, in my thinking, to judge this as being good, this else as being bad. I don't know. That's beyond my capability.
Exactly,
And whatever it is just a second in time. Is it really that important? If birth and death are even, everything else is even in between. So we just don't know.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not. Also, this birth and death, as I have experienced recovery, my idea of death has really changed. I used to be very afraid of death, thinking of judgment and all the things associated with life. And in recovery, I've been able to let that go. And I like what one of my teachers says, that the leading cause of death is birth. Like, there you go. Death is only an experience to what is next. That's it. It's nothing for me to be afraid of. It's nothing for me to fear. Actually, it can be something that's exciting.
Like you said earlier, fear is oftentimes the fear of losing something that you have. We don't know what we're going to get. Maybe what we're going to get is better than what we have. Maybe not.
But I don't believe it's something for me to, actually, it could even be something that we look forward to in a good way.
Oh, sure. I'm really curious.
I am too. I know what I was taught growing up. I know what, I'm supposed to believe for me, but I've also learned to be more open-minded and try to take the blinders off.
Mm-hmm.
And some of what this story was talking about, of not holding on to any of those fixed ideas and being open to change.
Well, my sense is it'll be like the person here in the story on 84, gazing out at the far horizon, came to his senses and murmured to the ocean god. Well, the proverb is right. He who has got himself 100 ideas thinks he knows more than anybody else. Such a one am I. Only now I see what they mean by expanse.
Yes.
I expect, anticipate, think about my experience might be as like, oh my God, this is great. I didn't know this is what it was. I thought I had an idea, but it's like my wife, when she saw the Grand Canyon for the first time, she said, okay, now I know what the meaning of vast is.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect that, who knows, maybe not, but that'll be the feeling like, oh, better than I thought.
Yeah, my Zen teacher was asked, what happens when we die? He said, well, who will we be when we die? And he said, well, probably whatever we were before we were born.
Yep.
It's taking that simplistic view that I don't have this figured out. It's taking a step back, whatever situation I'm in, whatever decisions I have to make. Can I be open to ideas, thoughts, solutions, scenarios that are outside of my thinking? Can I just be a little open-hearted or open-minded? That can change everything. Just a little, just crack that door just a little bit can change everything. What a good story. I guess
that idea of the ocean, the seeing the ocean as a metaphor for love or for compassion. And the more we can gather of that or contain within us or have flow out of us, the better we are. Things are in general better. The greater the experience is for this moment of the film strip.
Yeah, in the ocean, let's say there were just this huge flood, the ocean doesn't stop evaporating because something bad happened or people died or some perceived bad. And so we don't stop loving or being kind because we're not seeing the fruit of it in our life. Because when I'm helping you, what am I doing? I'm helping me. I really am. It's not I get rewarded. It's actually happening in my experience. So things are never final. It doesn't matter what decisions we've made in the past. We can always start again. I think that's the big takeaway from this, that the moment is the moment. Let's surrender this moment. Let's do that now. And how do I surrender? It's by how can I be helpful? Because what happens is when I choose to be helpful, I choose not to serve me. It's the opposite. And it can be even the minor things of life. In anything, I can either be helpful or I can be fearful, or I can be overbearing. I can be arrogant or full of self-pity on the other end. Anything to add before we close?
No, I miss the other guys, the other people when they're here, but I know other people are listening and benefiting from anything that there is here to benefit from. And I know that I'm gone probably more than I'm here. So it's all good.
Thank you, sir. Well, have a great week, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.